Hello class, this is Darren Susi. This is Mod 6 case study for EDL 954. Can we work this out? Now let's summarize the case and try to understand it. Oakwood High School has a funding issue now since the governor has decided to announce the loss of funding for all schools in the state, which is just what a superintendent wants to hear. Here's the problem. Obviously, Oakwood School District is now going to have a funding issue. The district has 6,000 students, consisting of 2 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. It's a blue-collar town, hardworking people, diverse population, and a tight-knit community. They really support each other and the school district. Then the governor announces that loss of funding for all schools in the state. Before that, the school board approved a 5% increase for teachers during that same budget year. So that's already gone through negotiations. Transportation has been free for the school district, even with increased costs throughout the years. Transportation budget is considered by the community as a sacred crow, meaning it's out of touch. They don't go into those funds. The committee made recommendations to the school board, a committee that the superintendent put together, but they recommended the area of cost reduction. One is transportation of students. The other was funding after school athletic programs, and then the other cuts would be in the elementary program. Is this ethical and legal? Can anything be done legally? And is this an ethical situation for the school district? School districts may sue the state. This happened a few years ago in Kansas, where the state was sued by some school districts on the fairness of school funding. The governor is within the law. When their budget changes, the funding can change. That doesn't mean it's ethical, and that's why they chose to sue the state of Kansas. So let's see what happened. Let's evaluate this situation. Synthesize what happened. The governor of the state has cut funding and has put the district into an unfortunate situation of trying to balance a budget that already has a 5% increase for teacher salaries. Now the superintendent has to figure out the best way to make cuts without upsetting members of this tight-knit community. There was a 5% raise promised, state cut funds, and then the committee recommended some items to be cut, and the community got upset. So let's find out the facts and truths here. About the people. We've talked about this. They're hardworking, they're blue collar, indigenous community. They're locally, stay around there after they graduate. The teachers are loyal to the community. They work there for a long time. So what's special about this place? The community is very supportive of their school district. The families are socially interact a lot with the school staff on the weekends at different activities. So what about the programs? That free transportation is a sacred crow. I also believe that transportation is something that should be offered, if at all possible, especially in a community where not everybody can afford to pay and do some things like that. School programs are well attended and important to the community, so they follow their sports programs. They go to the musical programs. You don't find that where the whole community does that, so that's a good thing. That might help us in the later here when we start figuring things out. So what's our priorities? Let's start to prioritize things. What is best for our school district and for our students? That's really our priority. is what I would be striving for as a superintendent. Transportation being free is important to our district and should be left as a last resort, number one. Number two, teacher salaries have already been negotiated, so that's going to be something that I would leave on the back burner. Are there other areas to look at to help balance the budget? I would probably have done this a little bit different as a superintendent. I would like to look at, all my funds and check some things out first. 4, athletic and music are supported by our community, so maybe they would help support it. Maybe we can find some businesses or local establishments that would help fund some of the things needed for the sports programs and the music programs. Do we have the correct committee put together? That was my question. Or would I put a committee together right away? It's hard to tell with the case study on what all the steps, because they don't include everything, but there's some issues there maybe. Evaluate your opinions. So let's develop our ideas here, because these decisions could be damaging to the committee, to the community, and create conflict in the district. It's very important to make sure we evaluate it properly. Problems with committee. I don't feel enough was done before setting up the committee. I would want to check all funds to see if we have any other options. I would also meet with my admin team and school board in executive session to discuss what we think our options would be and try to lead them in the right direction of where we're at financially. I hope I would have some things in place with some funds that for emergency situations like this. On the committee, I would like to see a better representation of staff and more school leaders maybe involved with that to help guide each other. The better representation you have as a group, the better collaboration you'll have. So let's talk about cutting athletics. Obviously extracurricular sports teach students teamwork, character, and how to compete against each other. So I think they are important for our students. Committee is behind, the community is behind the athletic team, so maybe we could get help to sponsor the team from one of those community members of businesses around town. Let's evaluate our options. The other options we have: cut in music, elementary music. I feel this is an area where we can cut some by reducing staff. We've done it here in Osawatomie. We use non-certified staff to help reduce salaries. We did that, for a while until we felt like the state was going to support us a little more. It's better to have certified instructors, of course. I really believe that for student growth, and just having a certified person there that has more buy-in into the program. It's harder to find those non-certified people. Community supports program, again, the music, they really support it, and so maybe they would help fund some things there. Depends what kind of businesses you have around town. With 6,000 students, I think you would have a pretty good business district. Cutting transportation. This is I think is going to probably be the toughest, because I don't see any good solution for what the district is about, the population, and what kind of town it is, what kind of community it is. They considered this untouchable, thought it was kind of their sacred cow, so I think you got to be very careful and be a great communicator if you decide to go this route. One option I would consider is, maybe charging for transportation if it's outside a certain limit outside town, how many miles it would be outside of town, and come up with some type of a formula there where you charge people that don't like that option. It'd definitely be a last resort, and we'd have to be in dire need. And the last one, cutting teacher salaries. They talked about that. It's difficult to cut teacher salaries after negotiations have already been agreed upon. it could hurt morale. They seem to be a very loyal staff and stick around, and have been in the town for quite a while and stay there. So I'd like to keep it that way. But we could try to move some of their raises into the next year and combine them with that next year raise, maybe a lower percentage, and try to figure some things out that way. It's hard to know until you see all the numbers, but that could be another option. This would again be one of the last resorts because I think it would hurt morale. Let's identify our options. You have to look at the best solutions without sacrificing the areas that are more detriment to students and community. So, option one. Well, what we could go and cut a little bit from all three that the committee recommended. Looking to cut from athletics and music and transportation. Option two, we could look in all areas and try to find a solution. Maybe some other funds, maybe some building funds. Try to make smaller cuts across the board and look at all positions to see if there's any other options. I would hope they have done that, but option three, you cut those 5% teacher raises, freeze salaries, and move teacher raise until next year. Choose the best option. What would I do? Here's my solution. I would choose option two. I feel communication with my leadership team would be my number one priority. That includes administrators in the district. So I would first meet with them and tell them my concerns of our budget. And then I'd take it to the executive session and discuss it with my board. And we would discuss on our options there. I feel that these options would come up with a solution, whether it be using funds that we have in reserve or modifying staff or other building budgets. I just think there's probably some things that I would have in place as a superintendent before this. Putting a committee together, if needed, two would be necessary only if we feel that there would need to be difficult cuts to consider. If I would be cut one of those things that I think is very popular in town and in the community, then definitely communication is a huge thing, and I'd want positive communication. So implementing our decision. Here's the solution of it all. I feel that this is the best solution for our school district, and I would always have the best interest of what is best for students. I believe that you always have to take the culture of your school district into consideration to be successful superintendent. Good communication is key, and you want to try to eliminate poor communication. I feel that there was some poor communication in this situation with the committee, and I'd want to limit that as much as possible. This was a great case study. It really made me think a little bit about what problem-solving strategies, are involved in this process, and I've really enjoyed it. So, thank you, and on to the next one.